Hi and welcome to SCW here on YouTube.com. Thank you for choosing the channel and choosing the video. Please subscribe right now. Leave any comments in the comment section. Please like and share the video as well. Christian Cage is all elite. He signed the dotted line, was the mystery big name Hall of Fame worthy superstar that has joined the company. He's not the only addition. Ethan Page was the mystery entrant in the Face of the Revolution ladder match, and also during this video going to be discussing that ending of that exploding barbed wire deathmatch main event. That's right, this is my AEW Revolution 2021 review show here on SCW, and of course starting off with the buy-in. And Britt Baker had said that she needed a replacement tag team partner because Reba, Rebel, they go backwards and forwards. I'm not sure what they're meant to be going with these days. She was apparently hurt recently when in the ring with Nyla Rose. So a replacement was found, and it was none other than Maki Itoh, someone that's very popular on the Japanese side of the #1 Eliminators tournament. She came out almost in karaoke style. I honestly, looking at the way she entered the ring, I'd love to see a sing-off with her and Jillian Hall, but that's just me. Going to the match itself, I thought the match was alright. It did what it needed to do. It was a buy-in match after all, but the match kind of elevated further the rivalry that's been going with Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa. Reba, Rebel, she proved she wasn't that hurt after all, using the crutch that she was coming down to the ring with to hit Thunder Rosa, which aided Britt Baker to getting the victory for her team. And for me, this also not the worst result in the world, because Britt Baker for me should be the one going for the AEW Women's Championship. She's got the best character. She is decent in ring. She for me is the person that should be taking this division forward going on from here. So I want to see her against the AEW Women's Champion as soon as possible. Going into the main show then, and we started off with the AEW World Tag Team Championships, the Young Bucks taking on Chris Jericho and MJF of the Inner Circle. For me, this was a hot opener. I quite enjoyed this match. I loved the way it was presented. Of course, Chris Jericho and MJF being the cocky, arrogant heels. You could even say the veteran light of Chris Jericho seems to feel he's kind of cool with that younger guy in his group, and it almost takes off that arrogance that MJF is carrying, because you felt Chris Jericho was making quite a few mistakes here that a veteran of his stature shouldn't be making. I love the presentation of the Young Bucks as well coming to the ring for this match, because they wanted revenge for what happened to Papa Buck, a much more serious side, and that really played into the story of this match. And it was quite back and forth. It was good high flying moves, good physical moves used in this match, a lot of near falls. And as we go towards the finish, Chris Jericho accidentally hit the Judas effect on Wardlow, which means he kind of made a mistake here. This did lead eventually to Jericho as well being pinned by the Young Bucks with the BTE to actually retain those tag team championships. So the Young Bucks get their revenge. Chris Jericho and MJF didn't get the job done. They were meant to be the tag team of the Inner Circle. Will there be dissension going into this? Because later on in the evening, the Inner Circle were with Alex Marvez, and change was teased for the future from both Jericho and MJF. It's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. A War Council is going to be taking place on Dynamite this upcoming week. Santana and Ortiz watching from the background as well. What's going to happen? Does Jericho feel that perhaps members of the Inner Circle aren't helping, aren't pulling their weight as well? And is MJF actually thinking that Chris Jericho perhaps isn't quite up to this anymore? I'm starting to think it could be the latter. We could see Chris Jericho out of the Inner Circle in the very near future, if you want my early prediction. Next was the Casino Tag Team Royale, and this was very well presented in the fact it was done rather than 5 teams at once, which we got in a lot of the previous times. It was like a Tag Team Royal Rumble match. Teams would come in every 90 seconds, which in a way, I mean, for me, it was so fast paced. Almost, it was quite hard to keep up with at times. I kind of wish that it was 2-minute intervals, because at times, if you missed one of elimination, you'd miss 3 or 4, because they had to get people out of the ring in very quick succession to make sure the ring didn't get overfilled. So in some ways, there was quite a few botches during this. And also, to be fair, for the first half of this match, I was actually wondering if I was watching AEW Dark rather than Revolution. But putting that aside, there were some good things from this match, and particularly one thing I quite liked is if you look at the start of the match, we had Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall as one of the first teams in the ring. In fact, they were with the Dark Orders, number 5 and number 10 as the first 2 teams in this match. But Dustin and QT had quite a role to play, because the Gun Club, who by the way looked really good in this match, I do think they've got very bright futures, have definitely a lot of resemblances of their father, Billy Gunn. They were eliminated by QT Marshall. Of course, all are a part of the Nightmare family. Dustin took offense to this. QT Marshall was quite upset with the idea that Dustin took offense to it, and QT actually eliminated himself from this tag team Royale. It was quite interesting that he'd done that. Could there be a breakup between Dustin and QT going forward? But as we got later into the match, I would say as a minor thing, actually, as we're going later in the match, Santana Ortiz were team number 3 in this and were nowhere near the end. Again, criminally not being used well enough, in my opinion, in AEW. But as we go towards later in the match, we've got more of the established teams that were in this Battle Royal, Jurassic Express being one of them. Bear Country, I've not seen them before. They looked quite impressive in this match. And of course, as we go towards the finals ending of this match, we had, of course, the Dark Order. John Silver was in the Final 4, Jungle Boy was in the Final 4, and both of Death Triangle, Pac and Ray Phoenix. Now, John Cena was sadly eliminated from the match, but Phoenix, in impressive fashion, running the top ropes after he was actually thrown over the top rope, John Silver. He kicked Silver in the face for him to go to the floor. Looked a very impressive spot. Pac went flying over the top rope from Jungle Boy, and in the end, Phoenix picking up the victory for his team. Great to see Phoenix get a win on pay-per-view, by the way. I do feel the Lucha Bros haven't had the best, way of being booked in AEW either. So it's great to see that Phoenix and Pac earn themselves a tag team opportunity here for the tag team championships. And I do think this version of Death Triangle they've got here with these two going for the championships is very interesting, because perhaps Penta is going to be going on a singles push somewhere down the line. But no, very much impressed with the way that this match finished, but certainly I would say that it was perhaps too fast-paced, a bit messy. There certainly was a couple of bad botches, particularly when Marco Stunt actually did a Hurricanrana, which Evil Uno was meant to go absolutely flying into the turnbuckle. It looked like a horrible botch, and there was a few of those in this match where I think at times things were just a little bit rushed. Next, looking things, Hikaru Shida taking on Ryo Mizunaki. Of course, she won the Women's Eliminator Tournament. For me, the first half of this match was not such a fan of, but I really grew into the match as it went on. I liked the story that Hikaru Shida hasn't been able to beat Mizunaki throughout her career, and said, it would be 100 years, she still wouldn't do it. She did manage to do it in this match eventually. Perhaps there was one too many near falls, kicks outs in this match, but eventually an impressive roundhouse, it seemed to be a roundhouse knee, actually was what finally got the 1-2 count for Shida to pick up the win. But the part I didn't like about the first half of this match, I just felt that Mizunaki wasn't taking this match seriously. I don't like her antics where she's kind of, doing her poses around the ring. It just feels to me that things aren't being taken too seriously. It's fine if you're a comedy gimmick character that's like the under part of the card that's not important in the show, not going for a major championship. But when you're going for a major championship against the champion who has been holding that belt for 9 months, and arguably the women's division, many say hasn't been booked that great in AEW, I turn around and say that I don't want someone saying they're not paying respect to the champion that's held that belt for a long time. We're trying to really build this championship as meaningful and important. So for me, I wasn't such a fan of that. But apart from that, the rest of this match was totally fine with, and I think we got the right result in Shida retained the championship. After the Women's Championship match, there was a sort of handshake of respect afterwards, and then both ladies were attacked by Nyla Rose, Rebel, Britt Baker, and of course Mita Otoa also. Thunder Rosa did come out to make the save. This will be building out for a 6-woman tag team match coming up on Dynamite this week. Next was one of my favourite parts of the evening. We had an interview segment backstage. It looked like that Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy were going to say a few words before the match of Miro and Kip Sabian. They were attacked by Miro and Kip Sabian backstage, and Chucky T actually going through a window that was on a part of a door here, and absolutely in a bloody mess as well. Miro just looked an absolute monster, taking Chucky to the ring and getting this tag team match started off. Orange Cassidy did come down halfway through to come and join the action, but let's just be fair here. Miro was dominant. This is the Miro we have wanted to see since leaving WWE. This is the Miro I want to see in AEW, because he was remorseless. He did not care. He actually threw Chucky T into Penelope Ford for her going flying off the ring apron as well. Kip Sabian checking on her. Miro being upset and saying, look, get your priorities right, we're in a match here. Gets himself tagged in and actually makes Chucky T actually tap out to the camel clutch. And I must admit, the way he applied it, it just looked brutal. This is a Miro that I think is night one of going towards the top of the card in AEW. But I really do believe that. I think a split will come with him and Kip Sabian in the near future. And I do feel as well that if Miro is booked like this going forward, I think people are going to get behind it, and I think people will stop saying that Miro has not been booked so far so well in AEW. 2021 can be a very bright future, and I really think that this is the first step right here, because the Miro booking on this night was to absolute perfection, in my opinion. The right team, without question, went over, but the real winner here was Miro. Following this was Big Money Matt Hardy against Hangman Page. 15 minutes these two got together, and this was quite a solid encounter. I quite enjoyed it. But what I would say is that I've never felt the result was any doubt, really. And to be honest, I like the fact that Matt Hardy was going for Hangman's hand. Really sort of, what can you do if you don't have one of your hands working, especially with the buckshot lariat as well that he likes to hit in those matches also. I thought it was a clever tactic. As we got towards the end of the match, it seemed that Hangman was going to pick up a win with a Deadeye, which we don't see enough these days, in my opinion, in AEW. But Private Party getting onto the ring aprons, causing a distraction. This led to the Dark Order coming out and taking Private Party out of the mix. It looked like the Hangman was going to be, thrown to the outside on the floor. The Dark Order actually caught him, and then we got the buckshot lariat for Hangman to pick up the victory. Not only has he got the money, he got hugs with the Dark Order as well. Perhaps he could be a leader. Maybe he's found his friends going forward. Even Colt Cabana bringing some beers as well. I think for what it was solid. I quite enjoyed this match, and I must admit, looking at it, this was how it should have been booked. It's how it was booked. It's as good as it could have gone, in my opinion, on pay-per-view. Next was the Face of the Revolution ladder match, and of course we knew most of the competitors in this match. We had Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, Lance Archer, Scorpio Sky, Penta, El Miedo, and of course, we had Max Caster as well from the Acclaimed, who I think's got a very bright future, by the way. And our surprise entrant at number 6 was none other than Ethan Page. And if you've watched my channel previously, you know I am a big fan of All Ego Ethan Page. I'm really pleased to see him get this opportunity, and I think he will have a very bright future in AEW. I was a bit disappointed he didn't win the match, but what I would say is that I could see a feud built in this match alone going forward. Him and Lance Archer, I think, will be a program going into Dynamite in future weeks. Looking at this as well, I mean, the Razor's Edge was actually used from Ethan Page onto Lance Archer to take him out of the match, which was quite fun. Jake Roberts, though, hitting what looked to be a short arm clothesline on Page as well, who sold it like an absolute king, so I thoroughly enjoyed that. Cody had a point in the match where he looked quite injured and couldn't actually carry on at one point. It was a Canadian Destroyer from Penta to Cody on a ladder going to the outside. That looked quite brutal. Cody had to go to the back for some medical attention for a few minutes, but did come back to finish the match, which was good to see. And some brutal spots as well. Scorpio Sky going for a ladder. There was a superplex from the top of the ladder in the ring from Lance Archer onto Cody. A great as well flying elbow as well. Elbow drop if you want from Max Caster from the top ladder as well. So lots of beautiful spots in this. But as we got towards the finish of the match, Scorpio Sky actually pushing Cody off of the ladder to actually then grab what was this big brass ring, or looked like a massive Cheerio if we're being honest here. But Scorpio Sky seems to have gone on a bit of a character change, a slight heel turn, and now he's got an opportunity to win the TNT Championship this upcoming Wednesday on Dynamite, which for me, I must admit, I'm surprised with this direction, but I am a big fan of Scorpio Sky. I want to see him do well in AEW. I think this could be the start of something, so I kind of hope that he wins the championship. I'm not going to lie. I do like Darby Allin, big fan of Darby Allin. We'll be talking more about Darby Allin in a couple of minutes' time, but I do for that TNT Championship. It hasn't really been defended as much for my liking. It's been more focused on tag team wrestling from Darby Allin lately, rather than actually carrying that TNT Championship. So I'd like to see Scorpio Sky get the win. Next though was the big reveal, and of course, as I mentioned at the start of the video, Christian Cage was the reveal. He is the mystery big signing that signed for AEW. He signed on the dotted line to be with the company, and of course he does fit the Hall of Famer role also. So for me, this kind of does fit. I'll give my opinion because I've got a few opinions that I want to share. I've got a few friends of mine that I'm going to give a shout out to have given me their opinion on Christian Cage. But to give my opinion first, I turn around and say I'm very happy for Christian. He's obviously cleared. He's back in ring. He's going to be with All Elite Wrestling, and I think it's going to be a big signing for them. But what I would say is, from a WWE fan perspective, I really wanted to see him have a tag team match with Edge again. So I feel like I've lost seeing that. So I am disappointed from that side. But this must be a massive blunder from WWE. He was only in their Royal Rumble match in January, and he is now not with that company anymore. And he has signed with All Elite Wrestling. It'll be interesting to see what he brings to the table in All Elite Wrestling. There's some great matches there for Christian Cage to work, and he does fit the mold of everything that AEW promised. Like I said, he is Hall of Fame worthy. He's had a great career. He's been world champion in WWE, in Impact Wrestling. To be fair, he is of an age where he could be still an asset in the ring and have great matches. You don't want someone that's coming in 50 plus that's going to have those 1 or 2 sparing matches. Christian Cage could be an asset for All Elite Wrestling. So I don't think that this is a bad capture at all. I am going to give a quick couple of shout outs. I've got a few people's opinions of what they think of Christian Cage, his actual signing for All Elite Wrestling. Going to give a shout out to my good friend Mr. 1925, who says that there are a lot of leaks that were actually correct that came out there suggesting that Christian Cage would be the guy. He said he's excited for this and also thought it was pretty cool he used the old TNA theme. Jonesy Chats Wrestling, of course, on YouTube, and give a shout out to him. He actually said that the TNA theme actually spoiled the actual reveal theme because he was aware of the old theme and kind of felt it took a little bit of the gloss off of it for him. So I'm not surprised with that one. I suppose I wasn't so familiar with the music myself. I haven't seen a lot of his TNA runs. So for me, it didn't personally ruin it for me, but I can understand how that could do that for someone. And I'm going to give a shout out as well to James from This Week in Metropolis. Fantastic podcast. Make sure to go and subscribe to them on YouTube and follow them on all platforms. He's got to say as well that it just screamed a bit too much TNA for him. It's a good signing, but he didn't get the addition personally. If he was to come back for WWE on a more permanent basis, he thought that would be cool, but perhaps it's a bit too TNA, like those old footsteps we've seen previously. Maybe getting, Christian, WWE has Edge, and maybe it looks like it's the second rung down. I'm not sure. Maybe that's the impression that's being given there. I could see if that's the impression that maybe was taken from this, because personally, like I say, Edge was the sort of start of that team. But Christian, he is a great wrestler. He has had a Hall of Fame career. I think he'll be treated better in All Elite Wrestling than perhaps maybe he would have been in WWE. If WWE didn't have plans to put him in a tag team union with Edge, which would have been on the table against Roman and Jey Uso, maybe even the Usos themselves, maybe could have gone for one more WrestleMania match, another world title. If they didn't put those plans on the table, what the hell were they thinking? Because you can see here, Tony Khan apparently has come out and said in his press conference that Christian got in contact with him and they made the deal. And it's one of Tony Khan's favourite wrestlers, apparently. And I can see some great matches that will take place with Christian in All Elite Wrestling. There's a great talent pool there. And if Christian is cleared and good to go, there certainly are some dream matches that I do look forward to seeing. Elsewhere then, we're going to go to the Street Fight next, which was more a House of Horrors match in my opinion, but still, I digress. I enjoyed this match. It was more of a cinematic style. We had Sting and Darby Allin, which seemed to appear with a great fun entrance as well, coming with the sort of 4x4, and of course Darby on his skateboard. They sort of come in there with all the Sting masks. It kind of looked like Retribution, to be honest, that were leading to the ring there. And I must admit, I'm pretty sure I saw Brian Cage actually powerbomb Slapjack. I'm not going to lie to you during that, but I digress. Anyway, they were against Team Taz. I say Brian Cage, Ricky Starks coming in a beautiful car as well as they came to this abandoned sort of warehouse. This went everywhere in the warehouse. It started in ring, it worked its way out. They went up to the next floor. There were some brutal spots in here. We've seen baseball bats, Darby Allin being thrown through a plate of glass. Darby Allin actually flying off the second floor to actually hit an elbow drop on Brian Cage. Literally just sunk to the bottom of this warehouse. It just looked absolutely brutal. It was a beautiful spot to watch. But I would say that, this was a great match. It finished with Sting picking up the victory with the Scorpion Death Drop on Ricky Starks. For me, this was as good as it gets, really. I thought with what you could do with this match, they did really, really well. Team Taz did have Hobbs and Hook get involved as well, so it looked like that it was going to be Team Taz picking up the victory. But Sting with the baseball bat, and of course Darby's, death-defying stunts were just too much to overcome. You just have the big question here from this. Is Darby Allin going to be all right for Wednesday when he's got to actually defend that TNT Championship? It really does put the advantage in Scorpio Sky's court here at this point. But certainly, looking at some pay-per-view, the right team definitely won. I would have liked to have seen Darby Allin pick up the victory for the team, but Sting's first match back, he was always going to win. And to be honest, for those people that are watching for Sting, they're going to see a new star in Darby Allin. The things he's done in this match were pretty darn awesome. Last but not least, then, let's get to it, shall we? It is the exploding barbed wire death match. Of course, 3 sides of the ring were wrapped in barbed wire. There were some barbed wire boards as well around the outside of the ring, and explosives were going to go off every time they touched the barbed wire. If at the end of the match, or after 30 minutes I should say, all the explosives were going to go off. If the match was still still going on after 30 minutes. It was going to be like a big Bang Theory. The match itself for me, I really actually quite enjoyed, especially the first 2/3 of it, particularly I enjoyed. I liked the cagey start, the fact that everyone's a bit weary of going near where the barbed wire was, but as soon as people were going into the barbed wire and explosives started going off, this match got violent and very, very quickly. Let's just say it wasn't PG. And not to get it twisted, sometimes I get a little bit twisted. I quite enjoyed this, I must admit. I love some of the spots that were done in this match. Particularly one of my favourite spots of the match was the paradigm shift from Jon Moxley to Kenny Omega on the way to the outside, and they went through a barbed wire board with some explosions going off. It looked absolutely brutal. There was a couple of moments where Kenny Omega looked like he'd gone sort of head first where explosions were done, had to have water put in his eyes. I do like as well the way that the one-winged angel was actually saved from Kenny Omega, because he actually hit that move on Jon Moxley. No one ever kicks out of it, but the match wasn't due to end here. Jon Moxley, by just putting a leg out, actually went near one of the explosives, and that explosive kind of made Kenny come away from the pin and the referee as well. Quite a little fun though as well. The referee kind of dressed like a beekeeper during this match, which was quite funny on a side note. But as we got towards the end of the match, and this is where things started to go, I don't want to say sour, but for me, I just kind of wasn't as much of a fan of it. I wanted things to remain one-on-one. Don Callis was on commentary. Fantastic job. He did a great build during this match of keeping things on the heel side for Kenny Omega, the pure biasness that he has got. But of course, where he's around, where Kenny's around, the Good Brothers aren't far behind. And I just feel this match didn't need interference. You knew where the result was going to come anyway. Yes, it's a part of Kenny's character, but I just would have liked to find a way that Jon Moxley had done something where he either took himself out of the match or something that violent happened that Kenny Omega got the victory. But instead, it was a 3-on-1 beatdown, of course, and eventually, after a while, Kenny Omega hits the one-winged angel on a steel chair and picks up the victory. But of course, the right result at the end here, they had to find a way to keep Jon Moxley down. Perhaps this is a way as well of protecting Jon Moxley in this match. So I won't criticise that part too much, but here's where I will start criticising, because we were getting, throughout the match, being told a timer of how far we were going to go for when all the explosives were going to go off. And the fact was, this didn't stop the fact that the match had finished, so we were still expecting that to happen. And the fact that beatdown took place after this match, Jon Moxley handcuffed in the ring, there was no way for him to get away. We got to the point where we were less than a minute before everything was going to go off. Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers leaving the ringside area, and Eddie Kingston actually come out looking to try and make the save with about 20 seconds left for Jon Moxley. There was a real moment where you felt adrenaline and you felt actually emotion, because Eddie Kingston, you know, has had such hatred for Jon Moxley. They told a terrific story going into Full Gear last year. The fact that he didn't want to see his longtime friend in this place and he wanted to help and save him, just actually it was a heartfelt moment. You kind of really got into that moment, and the fact was Eddie Kingston knew he couldn't save Jon Moxley, so he sacrificed himself. He laid on top of Jon Moxley. This for me was absolutely brilliant. I was so into this bit, and then we got sparklers. We didn't get explosive. It was so poorly done that unfortunately it looked a lot tamer than explosives we had in the match. And I think a lot of people were disappointed. And as they go to say quite famously, it's not what you do throughout the whole show, it's the way you send them home. And unfortunately, that is the point of the show that everybody is going to remember. And unfortunately, this didn't just take away from the moment of what happened with Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley, didn't take away from the match, it took away from the whole pay-per-view. And that's really such a shame, because I do feel overall, this wasn't my favourite AEW pay-per-view, I'll say that now. But what I would turn around and say was, this was a solid show. I did enjoy it. But unfortunately, this moment really did harm things. And there could have been ways that you could have got around it. Maybe AEW should have thought of a plan B if things didn't go. Maybe I'm a bit crazy to think that I was expecting Daily's Place to absolutely implode. Maybe that seemed a bit too much, but the way they hyped it and built it, that's kind of what should have happened. Should Kenny Omega have come out to the ringside and sort of come pointing and laughing of, you thought this was going to happen? How stupid are you? Could have been like Steve Austin and Vince McMahon with the gun spot, the Bang 316 back in the Attitude Era. Maybe they could have done something like that, but nothing was done, nothing was explained, and the fact as well that Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley actually sold the fact that the whole place had imploded as well and needed help and attention from everyone, just kind of really undersold everything. It undermined everything that had been done and been built throughout this match. So that for me was a real crying shame. AEW needed a plan B, they just didn't have it. But after the show went off the air, Tony Khan actually did come out and say that Kenny Omega, he was the one that constructed and built all of this together. So it kind of, in storyline terms, is Kenny Omega's fault. But I mean, I think a more proper explanation is going to be given on Dynamite this week. It's going to be interesting to see how they're going to come about this. But that's my review for you anyway, and I'm going to give a score for you now out of 10. I'm going to give the show a 7.5 out of 10. I do think the show was very good. I do think that I was enjoying particularly the latter half of the pay-per-view more than the opening half, and I would say as well that if the main event had gone completely how it should have done, this score would have been higher. But I do think a 7.5 is a fair score out of 10. But I'd like to know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think of AEW Revolution 2021? Let me know in the comments right now. Thank you for watching as always. Please like, share and subscribe. More videos will be coming out through the week here on SCW, and make sure to go and check out the current Q&A. But that's all from me. Thank you for watching. Take care. Have yourselves a good one. You've been watching SCW here on YouTube.